Are you always overeating? In today's video, I'm going to share you 6 tips to stop overeating today. And if you stay until the end, I'll give you a bonus tip, which is always my favorite tip. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button below so you never miss a video. I release a new video every Wednesday. My name is Kevin Burciaga, and I help entrepreneurs and professionals break bad eating habits and establish new ones so that they can become the healthiest versions of themselves. Let's get to it. Step number 1 is to assess your hunger. How hungry are you? 0 is no hunger, 10 is a lot of hunger. I think it's really important to connect with your hunger cues and your signals once in a while. A lot of times we eat out of habit, or it's just mindless eating, or we're with other people, or there are cues in our environment that tell us to eat more. Because of all that, it's really important to assess your hunger frequently. How hungry am I? If it's only 2 or 3, you can probably go a little longer without eating. If it's a 9 or 10, you probably should eat. But what I want you to start doing is to really connect with your hunger and start to assess it more frequently. Step number 2 is ask yourself why. Why are you eating right now? Is it something in the environment? Is it social life? Other people are eating, so therefore you're eating too. Is it just habit? Is it because you're watching a movie? Is it because you're bored, you're stressed out? Maybe you're anxious, maybe you're sad. We eat for a lot of reasons. We're human, I get it. But from now on, I want you to ask yourself, why am I eating this? Why am I eating this right now? Why this food? Why at this moment? If you're not really hungry and your hunger is pretty low, you can probably stop eating now and just eat later. But the first step is being aware. And if you watch my other videos, you know that one of my main concepts or principles in this whole channel is self-awareness. You need to be aware of what's going on. You need to be aware of emotions and thoughts and feelings that are contributing to your eating. If you're not aware, then you're just going to perform repetitive behavior and you're just going to eat like it's autopilot. You don't want that for yourself, especially when you're trying to lose weight. So you really need to connect with your hunger and then ask yourself every time you eat, why am I eating? Step number 3, what do you consistently overeat and when do you overeat it? Do you overeat at the end of a long day and you're ready to relax and you just want to watch a movie and chill on the couch? That's very common. Is it in the morning? Is it at night? Is it at meetings when people bring bagels and donuts to the office? Is it the candy jar? It could be anything. So for me, for example, I was always overeating stuff like cereal and granola because I could just take a little bit and pretend that I wasn't eating that much. Of course, I was eating a lot more than I should have. Or it was ice cream at night, or it was like going to Chipotle and having a big burrito at the end of the day. It was almost like this reward and I felt like I deserved to eat it. But really I was just making myself and my life a lot less healthy than it could have been. I wasn't eating out of hunger, I wasn't eating out of necessity, it was just this repetitive habit. At the end of a long day, when I had finished everything, I wanted something to look forward to, and for me, that was eating a very large dinner with a very large dessert. It made me feel good in the moment, but then it just made me feel terrible at night and made me feel even worse in the morning. My first question for you is, when do you overeat and what do you overeat? Let me know in the comments below. Step number 4 is don't distract yourself when you eat. I know you've heard this before, like mindless eating, when people go to the movie theaters and they just eat popcorn without even thinking about it. They order the biggest bucket and they consume the whole thing. They're not really thinking about their hunger, they're not really aware, they're just on autopilot. But I think it's really important that when you eat, you just eliminate all distractions. We have this habit in the modern world of always doing something else when we eat. Have you ever noticed that? We like to watch movies, we like to watch TV. For me, it was watching random YouTube videos that I had no intention of watching. Or it could be reading the newspaper, it could be checking email, it could be checking social media. There's always something else that we feel like we need to be doing when we're eating. It's almost like eating itself is not enough. We have to add something to it to make it worthwhile. My advice for you, don't distract yourself when you eat. Just focus on what you're eating. You'll probably feel satisfied much sooner than you would if you had some distraction. Tip number 5, remind yourself how you feel after you overeat. So when you're planning on eating a large meal or eating a bunch of food, just remind yourself how you felt the last time you did that. It's important that you connect with future self. So current self really wants the endorphins and the rush that comes with consuming large volumes of food in a short amount of time. It feels good in the moment and it feels like we have no restrictions and no boundaries in life. But then we crash. right? And it's over in about 15 or 20 minutes. How do you want to feel in 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? How do you want to feel the next morning? How well do you want to sleep at night? What do you want the scale to say the next morning? How do you want to look in the mirror? Reconnect with future self before you engage in destructive behavior like overeating. Step number 6, eat foods that actually satisfy you. This seems really intuitive, right? You should eat foods that satisfy you with the least amount of food possible. Foods that satisfy you the fastest usually include whole foods like fruits and vegetables. I've seen studies that show that potatoes are actually the most satisfying food. Yes, those insulin spiking potatoes are the most satisfying food you could eat. Now, I'm not talking about mashed potatoes or french fries. I'm talking about just the whole potato. For me, eating a sweet potato is enormously satisfying. I've gone 2 or 3 days without eating, and just one sweet potato satisfied my appetite for the next 2 or 3 hours. Just one potato. Think about that for a minute. Less satisfying foods include the really processed food, like chips and cookies and ice cream, and the foods that contain lots of flour and sugar and high concentration of calories and a little bit of volume. Now, there are some foods that are very satisfying that are actually very high in calories, like nuts, so I'll make an exception for them. But most of the foods that you see advertised at stores and on TV aren't really designed to satisfy you. They're really designed to make you keep eating more, which is good for the company that produces it, but it's not really good for you. I like to say that foods that are good for the bottom line aren't good for your waistline. Just remember that. My second question for you is, which of these steps are you going to implement today? Are you going to be more self-aware? Are you going to stop distracting yourself when you eat? Are you going to eat foods that are more nourishing and more satisfying versus foods that don't really satisfy you but just encourage you to eat more? Let me know in the comments below. And you're still here. Well, thank you. I told you I was going to leave you a bonus tip, didn't I? My bonus tip today is eat one bite of something and then leave it. I know this is going to be really hard at first. I had a hard time doing it, but I experimented and I tried it several times and it seems to work. Because the first bite is usually the best bite, isn't it? I mean, take any food out there. Maybe it's dessert, maybe it's steak, it doesn't matter. The first bite is always the best because you have high levels of anticipation and you're thinking, oh, this is going to be so good. And you take that first bite and it's just amazing, right? Second bite is good, not as good. Third bite is good, but not as good. You get to like bite 15 or 20 and it's just like you're eating on autopilot. You're not really thinking about it. I find this exercise to be particularly useful when I'm eating something that's really enjoyable to eat. For example, a cookie or some ice cream. I'll take one bite and then I'll leave it. It's really challenging at first, but I encourage you to try it. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you next time. Wait, one more thing. If you're struggling with overeating and you want to stop, I have some free resources for you. You can go to my website, kevinburciaga.com, and I have some free training that you won't find on YouTube, and I'll show you how you can stop overeating today. You can also join my free Facebook group, The Empowered Eater, and you can also speak with me directly, and I'll provide the link below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.